This is ASMR to the G. Welcome back to our YouTube channel. Before I begin, I wanted to thank you all for helping us reach over 200 subscribers. Yay! Thank you everyone. I really appreciate it. Together we can help build the channel, and I really hope you guys are enjoying it and that I'm helping you relax and maybe get to sleep. Tonight's video is going to be a new reading. We are going to be reading a Goosebumps book, The Night of the Living Dummy by R.L. Stine. Let us begin with chapter 1. Chris Powell struggled to get her twin sister's attention. Lindy Powell glanced up from the book she was reading to see what the problem was. Instead of her sister's pretty face, Lindy saw a round pink bubble nearly the size of Chris's head. "Nice one," Lindy said without much enthusiasm. With a sudden move... Sorry guys, I just lost my place. With a sudden move, she poked the bubble and popped it. "Hey!" Chris cried as the pink bubble gum exploded onto her cheeks and chin. Lindy laughed. "Gotcha." Chris angrily grabbed Lindy's paper bag and slammed it shut. "Whoops, lost her place," she exclaimed. She knew her sister hated to lose her place in a book. Lindy grabbed the book back with a scowl. Chris struggled to pull the pink gum off her face. "That was the biggest bubble I ever blew," she said angrily. The gum wasn't coming off her chin. "I've blown much bigger than that," Lindy said with a superior sneer. "I don't believe you two," their mother muttered, making her way into the bedroom and dropping a neatly folded pile of laundry at the foot of Chris's bed. "You even compete over bubble gum." "We're not competing," Lindy muttered. She tossed back her blonde ponytail and returned her eyes to her book. Both girls had straight, blonde hair. Lindy kept hers long, usually tying it behind her head or on one side in a ponytail, and Chris had hers cut very short. It was a way for people to tell the twins apart, for they were nearly identical in every other way. Both had broad foreheads and round blue eyes. Both had dimples in their cheeks when they smiled. Both blushed easily, large pink circles forming on their pale cheeks. Both thought their noses were a little too wide. Both wished they were a little taller. Lindy's best friend Alice was nearly 3 inches taller, even though she hadn't turned 12 yet. "Did I get it all off?" Chris asked, rubbing her chin, which was red and sticky. "Not at all," Lindy told her, glancing up. "There's some in your hair." "Oh, great," Chris muttered. She grabbed at her hair but couldn't find any bubble gum. "Gotcha again," Lindy said, laughing. "You're too easy." Chris uttered an angry growl. "Why are you always so mean to me?" "Me? Mean?" Lindy looked up in wide-eyed innocence. "I'm an angel. Ask anyone." Exasperated, Chris turned back to her mother, who was stuffing socks into a dresser drawer. "Mom, when am I going to get my own room?" "On the 12th of never," Mrs. Powell replied, grinning. Chris groaned. "That's what you always say." Her mother shrugged. "You know, we don't have a spare inch, Chris." She turned to the bedroom window. Bright sunlight streamed through the filmy curtains. "It's a beautiful day. What are you two doing inside?" "Mom, we're not little girls," Lindy said, rolling her eyes. "We're 12. We're too old to go and play." "Did I get it all?" Chris asked again, still scraping pink patches of bubblegum off her chin. "Leave it, it improves your complexion," Lindy told her. "I wish ears. "What's Sparky excited about now?" Mrs. Powell fretted. The little black terrier was always barking about something. "Why not take Sparky for a walk?" "Don't feel like it," Lindy muttered, nose in her book. "What about those beautiful new bikes you got for your birthday?" Mrs. Powell said, hands on hips. "Those bikes you just couldn't live without. You know, the ones that have been sitting in the garage since you got them." Okay, you don't have to be sarcastic, Mom," Lindy said, closing her book. She stood up, stretched, and tossed the book onto her bed. "You want to?" Chris asked Lindy. "Want to what?" "Go for a bike ride. We could ride to the playground, see if anyone's hanging out at the school." "You just want to see if Robbie's there," Lindy said, making a face. "So," Chris said, blushing. "Go on, get some air," Mrs. Powell urged. "I'll see you later. I'm off to the supermarket." Chris peered into the dresser mirror. She had gotten most of the gum off. She brushed her short hair back with both hands. "Come on, let's go out," she said. "Last one out is a rotten egg." She darted to the doorway, beating her sister by half a step. As they burst out the back door, with Barky yipping shrilly behind them, the afternoon sun was high in a cloudless sky. The air was still and dry. It felt more like summer than spring, but both girls were wearing shorts and sleeveless t-shirts. Lindy bent to pull open the garage door, then stopped. The house next door caught her eye. "Look, they've got walls up," she told Chris, pointing across their backyard. "That new house is going up so quickly, it's amazing," Chris said, following her sister's gaze. The builders had knocked down the old house during the winter. The new concrete foundation had been put down in March. Lindy and Chris had walked around on it when no workers were there, trying to figure out where the different rooms would go. Now the walls had been built. The construction suddenly looked like a real house, rising up in the midst of tall stacks of lumber. A big mound of red-brown dirt, a pile of concrete blocks, and an assortment of power saws, tools, and machinery. "No one's working today," Lindy said. They took a few steps towards the new house. "Who do you think will move in?" Chris wondered. "Maybe some great-looking guy our age. Maybe great-looking twin guys." "Yuck," Lindy made a disgusted face. "Twin guys? How drippy can you get? I can't believe you and I are in the same family." Chris was used to Lindy's sarcasm. Both girls liked being twins and hated being twins at the same time, because they shared nearly everything: their books, their clothing, their room. They were closer than most sisters ever get. But because they were so much alike, they also managed to drive each other crazy a lot of the time. "No one's around. Let's check out the new house," Lindy said. Chris followed her across the yard. A squirrel, halfway up the wide trunk of a maple tree, watched them warily. They made their way through an opening in the low shrubs that divided the 2 yards. Then, walking past a stack of lumber and a tall mound of dirt, they climbed the concrete stoop. A sheet of heavy plastic had been nailed over the opening, where the front door would go. Chris pulled one end of the plastic up, and they slipped into the house. It was dark and cool inside, and had fresh wood smell. The plaster walls were up but hadn't been painted. "Careful," Lindy warned. "Nails." She pointed to the large nails scattered over the floor. "If you step on one, you'll get lockjaw and die." "You wish," Chris said. "I don't want you to die," Lindy replied. "Just get lockjaw," she snickered. "Ha ha," Chris said sarcastically. "This must be the living room," she said, making her way carefully across the front room to the fireplace against the back wall. "A cathedral ceiling," Lindy said, staring up at the dark, exposed wooden beams above their heads. "Neat. This is bigger than our living She hesitated, watching the windows of the new house. That's a pretty loud squirrel. When she turned back from the house, she was surprised to find that Lindy had disappeared. Hey, where'd you go? Over here, Lindy called. I see something. It took Chris a while to locate her sister. Lindy was half hidden behind a large black dumpster at the far end of the yard. Chris shielded her eyes with one hand to see better. Lindy was bent over the side of the dumpster. She appeared to be rummaging through some trash. What's in there? Chris called. Lindy was tossing things around and didn't seem to hear her. What is it? Chris called, taking a few reluctant steps towards the dumpster. Lindy didn't reply. Then, slowly, she pulled something out. She started to hold it up. Its arms and legs dangled down limply. Chris could see a head with brown hair. A head, arms, and legs. Oh no, Chris cried aloud, raising her hands to her face in horror. Chapter 2. A Child. Chris uttered a silent gasp, staring in horror as Lindy lifted him out of the dumpster. She can see his face, frozen in a wide-eyed stare. His brown hair stood stiffly on top of his head. He seemed to be wearing some sort of gray suit. His arms and legs dangled lifelessly. Lindy, Chris called, her throat tight with fear. Is he alive? Her heart pounding, Chris started to run to her sister. Lindy was cradling the poor thing in her arms. Is he alive? Chris repeated breathlessly. She stopped short when her sister started to laugh. No, not alive, Lindy called gleefully. And then Chris realized that it wasn't a child after all. A dummy, she shrieked. Lindy helped it up. A ventriloquist's dummy, she said. Someone threw him out. Do you believe it? He's in perfect shape. It took Lindy a while to notice that Chris was breathing hard. Her face bright red. Chris, what's your problem? Oh wow, did you think he was a real kid? Lindy laughed scornfully. No, of course not, Chris insisted. Lindy helped the dummy up and examined his back, looking for the string to pull to make his mouth move. I am a real kid, Lindy made him say. She was speaking in a high-pitched voice through gritted teeth, trying not to move her lips. Dumb, Chris said, rolling her eyes. I am not dumb, you're dumb, Lindsay made the dummy say in a high, squeaky voice. When she pulled the string in his back, the wooden lips moved up and down. Click, cute red-headed kids that Lindy and Chris sometimes babysat for. What's that? Amy Marshall asked, pointing at Slappy. Does he talk? Her younger brother Ben asked, staying several feet away, an uncertain expression on his freckled face. Hi, I'm Slappy, Lindy made the dummy call out. She cradled Slappy in one arm, making him sit straight, his arms dangling at his sides. Where'd you get him? Amy asked. Do his eyes move? Ben asked, still hanging back. Do your eyes move? Slappy asked Ben. Both Marshall kids laughed. Ben forgot his reluctance. He stepped up and grabbed Slappy's hand. Ouch, not so hard, Slappy cried. Ben dropped the hand with a gasp. Then he and Amy collapsed in gleeful laughter. Ha 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 ha. Lindy made Slappy laugh, tilting his head back and opening his mouth wide. The two kids thought that was a riot. They laughed even harder, pleased by the response she was getting. Lindy glanced at her sister. Chris was sitting on the curb, cradling her head in her hands, a dejected look on her face. She's jealous, Lindy realized. Chris sees that the kids really like Slappy and that I'm getting all the attention, and she's totally jealous. I'm definitely keeping Slappy, Lindy told herself, secretly pleased at her little triumph. She stared into the dummy's bright blue painted eyes. To her surprise, the dummy seemed to be staring back at her, a twinkle of sunlight in his eyes, his grin wide and knowing. And this is where we are going to end today at the end of chapter 2. I wanted to mention a quick shout out to Rach ASMR. The lights that you are witnessing this evening, these relaxing lights that keep changing color. I've seen Rach have those in her background, and I just so happened to have the same lights in my kids' room. So shout out to her for this idea. I hope you guys enjoyed the reading. I hope you guys are relaxed and ready to go to sleep. Thank you for joining me again today. If you aren't already subscribed to our channel, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment, turn on your notification bell so you don't miss any of the next upcoming videos. I hope you guys have an excellent evening, and I hope to see you again soon.